My friends, I have to ask you something. Isn't it strange? So many people tell you they dream of being successful, yet they are more disciplined about charging their smartphones every night than they are about charging their own minds. Every single day I hear the same words. I'm just waiting for the right chance to come along. Let me be very clear with you. Opportunities do not visit those who simply wait by the door. They appear for those who are already in the workshop, preparing. And what is true preparation? It is the relentless building of skills. Let this sink in. Your position at a company can be eliminated. The money in your bank account can lose its value. But the skills you forge within yourself, they are the one treasure that becomes a part of you. They walk with you through every storm and stand with you on your darkest days. If you study anyone who has achieved lasting success, you will find a common thread. They did not find success and then gain skills. They piled skill upon skill first, and success had no choice but to follow. It wasn't about luck or connections alone, it was about a foundation of undeniable ability. Consider a star like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. His first dream was football, and it didn't work out. He faced failure and was left with nothing. But he didn't just have a dream, he had built skills. Immense discipline, relentless energy, the art of storytelling. He leveraged those skills to become one of the most famous people on the planet. Or look at the digital pioneers, the creators like Mr. Beast. He didn't start with a fortune. He started with curiosity and spent years, not waiting, but actively learning the skills of capturing attention, crafting a narrative, and making an audience care. Those are not fleeting tricks. Those are skills that pay dividends for a lifetime. So let's move beyond wishing. Let's talk practically about the foundational skills that can make you truly unstoppable. Now, I need you to understand something crucial. Communication is not about using fancy vocabulary or speaking with a certain accent. I have met individuals who speak English with perfect grammar, yet they cannot persuade a single person to believe in their vision. Why? Because true communication is not about the words you use, it's about the impact you create. It is the ability to make someone feel the truth of your words, to make them pause, to reconsider, and to ultimately say, I see what you mean. Let me share a hard truth I've learned. The world does not automatically reward the person with the best ideas. It rewards the person who can best communicate those ideas. You could be the most brilliant mind in the building, but if you cannot translate that genius into a message that resonates, the world will never know. Your potential will remain a secret locked inside you. And please do not think this skill is only for the boardroom. It is for the living room. It is for every relationship in your life. Think of how many arguments could be dissolved if people simply said what they truly felt. One person mutters, it's fine, when their heart is breaking. The other just says, okay. Two people, alone and angry, scrolling through their phones, looking for comfort in strangers' posts. That is not a relationship. That is a failure of communication. But when you learn to speak with clarity and honesty, your entire world shifts. You are no longer misunderstood. You begin to attract the right people into your life. You start to lead, not by command, but by inspiration. Never forget, the most influential people in history were not always the wealthiest. They were the ones who could make others believe. Martin Luther King Jr. did not have a Twitter account. He had a voice. And with that one voice, he moved millions and shook the foundations of a nation. So if you truly want to change your life, stop obsessing over your follower count. Focus on the one skill that makes people want to follow you. Focus on communication. Now let's talk about the second skill, the one that acts as the gatekeeper to your empire, emotional control. My friends, this single skill determines whether you will build a legacy with your own hands or dismantle it in a moment of carelessness. It doesn't matter how high your IQ is, how many degrees you hold, or how clever your strategies are. If you cannot master your emotions will master you. I have witnessed brilliant people shatter years of trust, beautiful partnerships, and promising careers, all in a flash of uncontrolled anger. It is like sending a message written in fire. Once it's out, you cannot take it back. In life, there is no unsend button for harsh words spoken in haste. But understand this, emotional control is not about becoming a robot devoid of feeling. It is about cultivating wisdom. It is about learning the profound difference between when to stand your ground and when to let things pass. This discernment is what separates true leaders from perpetual complainers. You often hear the advice, follow your heart. But I must warn you, if your heart is filled with rage, confusion, or envy, it will lead you straight off a cliff. Your heart is the compass, but your mind must be the steady hand that holds it and navigates the storm. Consider the story of a globally beloved actor who spent 30 years building a reputation as a charismatic and disciplined entertainer. Yet, in one raw emotional moment on a very public stage, he made a choice that overshadowed decades of work. One instant of lost control can dismantle a lifetime of discipline. We all face these moments. You come home after a long, exhausting day. Someone says one wrong thing, and suddenly you erupt. 5 minutes later, you are filled with regret, saying, I didn't mean that. Of course you didn't. Your untamed emotions did the talking for you. Let me tell you something important. When challenges arise, life is not just testing your power, it is testing your poise. Anybody can be calm when the seas are smooth, but true strength is revealed when the waves are crashing over the deck and you remain steady at the helm. The world's greatest fortunes and achievements belong to those who can keep their heads clear when everyone else is losing theirs. Because panic creates blindness, while calmness creates clarity and power. Look at an investor like Warren Buffett. He did not become one of the most successful men in the world by frantically chasing every market trend. He did it by maintaining his discipline and thinking clearly when fear gripped everyone else. That is emotional control expressed in the language of business. And in your personal life, the principle is the same. When you stop overreacting to every minor irritation, you conserve your energy for the battles that truly matter. You stop fighting with distractions and start focusing on your destiny. In today's world, people often wear their emotions on their sleeves, broadcasting every feeling online. They believe this makes them authentic. But true authenticity is not about being a slave to every passing emotion. It is about being the master of your inner state. Sometimes, the most powerful peace is found not in speaking your mind, but in choosing not to react at all. So, the next time life pushes you, do not push back immediately. Smile, take a deep breath, and strategize your next move. A reaction might win you a momentary victory, but control will win you the entire war. Remember this. Your success will depend less on how fast you run and more on how calmly you can stand when everything around you is spinning out of control. Now let's discuss the third skill, the engine of progress, decision making. This is the fundamental divide between those who spend their lives wishing upon a star and those who actually build a rocket to reach it. Most people do not fail in life because they made a wrong decision. They fail because they are paralyzed by the fear of making any decision at all. Let me be blunt. Indecision is a silent tax on your life. It steals your time, drains your energy, and allows your best opportunities to quietly slip away to someone else. And time, once spent, is a currency you can never earn back. People often tell me, I'm waiting for the perfect moment. I tell them the perfect moment was yesterday. The next best moment is right now, this very second. I have met countless individuals with brilliant ideas who say, I'll launch soon. You meet them a year later and they are still in the soon phase. Their soon has become a permanent state of being. Life does not wait for the undecided. It rewards the movers, the men and women of action who are willing to learn as they go. It is a strange paradox, isn't it? The moment you decide to act, a chorus of voices will ask, but what if you fail? Yet when you remain stuck in indecision, a much quieter, more haunting voice from within whispers, what if you never try? That second question, the question of regret, is the one that echoes for a lifetime. Let me share a story. There was a man with a passion for coffee who dreamed of opening a small, cozy cafe. He was always waiting, waiting for the economy to improve, waiting for the ideal location to become available, waiting for a partner to join him. A decade passed. One day, he walked by the very spot he had envisioned, and there it was, the cafe of his dreams, bustling with customers. It was his idea, his location, but owned by another person. The only difference was a decision. You see, successful people are not necessarily the ones with the highest IQs. They are simply the ones with the courage to decide quickly, and if they make a mistake, to correct course just as quickly. There is a powerful business philosophy that says if you have about 70% of the information you need, you should make the call. If you wait for 100% certainty, you will have waited too long. That is the mindset you must adopt. The longer you dwell on a decision, the more power you give to fear. And fear thrives on overthinking. Think about it. How many times have you agonized over a simple choice? To buy something, to start a project, to express a feeling? You spent weeks thinking about it, only to realize, once you finally acted, that the weight of the decision was far greater than the decision itself. This is how people waste the precious days of their lives, dying slowly from a paralysis of analysis. There is a saying I hold close: the greatest risk is taking no risk at all. It is profoundly true. You can recover from a bad decision. You can learn from it, adjust, and move forward. But you can never recover from the opportunities lost to no decision. Do not misunderstand me. I am not advocating for recklessness. I am advocating for courage. Good decisions require logic and information. But great, life-changing decisions require guts. Every single major leap in human history was triggered by someone who simply said, "Let's do it." The pioneers of flight didn't wait for perfect conditions, they risked everything. And now the world connects through the skies daily. When I began my own journey, I did not have all the answers. I was operating with very little knowledge. But I learned that one brave decision teaches you more about success than a whole library of theoretical books. Never forget, you can always adjust a decision, but you can never get back lost time. If you remain in a state of perpetual contemplation, the opportunities you were meant to seize will quietly be claimed by someone with less hesitation and more faith in themselves. Here is the ultimate truth: you will make wrong decisions. Everyone does. But every wrong decision deposits experience into your account, and that experience compounds into wisdom. And that wisdom one day will make you truly unstoppable. So stop asking, what if it doesn't work? Start asking, what if it does? And if it doesn't, you still win because you have gained the invaluable knowledge of what not to do next time. That is the mindset of a winner. They are not in pursuit of perfection. They are in pursuit of progress. My friends, from this day forward, stop living in the land of maybe. Maybe is a dream killer. Decide, act, learn, adjust, and keep moving. The road to extraordinary success is surprisingly empty. Why? Because most people are still parked at the starting line, thinking about the map. Now, my friends, we arrive at the fourth skill, the one that is your shield against obsolescence: adaptability. Let me state this plainly. In the world we live in today, if you cannot adapt, you will be left behind. It is that simple. You can have a wall full of diplomas, decades of experience, and undeniable talent. But if you dig in your heels and refuse to change, the world will change anyway, and it will reshape your life on its own terms, not yours. Just look around you. The pace of progress is breathtaking. A decade ago, being a fast typist was a valuable asset. Today, artificial intelligence can generate text faster than any human, and it doesn't need to sleep. The problem is a contradiction in our nature. Everyone wants a better future, but very few want to change the routines of their present. They desire new results while stubbornly clinging to old methods. That is like trying to download a modern video game onto a computer from the 1990s. You will just sit there frustrated, wondering why nothing is happening. I recall speaking with someone who told me, "I don't like all this new technology." My response was, "Then I'm afraid technology will not like you back." The universe is indifferent to your preferences. The current of change flows relentlessly. You can either learn to swim with the current, or you'll be left standing on the riverbank, watching everyone else move forward. Consider the cautionary tale of a once dominant company like Kodak. They were the kings of photographic film. Incredibly, their own engineers invented the digital camera back in 1975, but their leadership dismissed it, convinced the world would always prefer physical film. They refused to adapt. And what happened? The company that defined an era became a footnote. Today, younger generations only know Kodak as a nostalgic filter on their phones. That is the price of falling in love with your past success. Understand this. Adaptability is not about betraying who you are at your core. It is about upgrading your tools so that your core purpose can survive and thrive in a new era. People often ask me, how can I ensure my success lasts? My answer is always the same. Don't marry your achievements, marry your growth. What made you a champion yesterday could be what makes you a loser tomorrow if you stop learning. I, too, have been guilty of resisting change. When new platforms and trends emerged, I would sometimes dismiss them as passing fads, until one day I looked up and realized the fad had become the new foundation. Change is uncomfortable because it demands that we shed an old version of ourselves. But remember, the person you were got you to this point. The person you are willing to become will carry you to the next. Even nature whispers this secret to us. During a great storm, the rigid trees snap and break. The flexible bamboo bends low to the ground, and when the storm passes, it springs back, stronger than ever. Adaptability is not a sign of weakness, it is the highest form of practical intelligence. Think about your phone. You update its software and apps regularly to keep it functional and secure. But when was the last time you performed a system update on yourself? A new skill, a new perspective, a new way of solving problems. That is your personal operating system upgrade. You cannot hope to win in the future with a mindset that is stuck in the past. It is like entering the Olympic Games with a horse and cart. Your determination might be real, but you will be outpaced in an instant. Let me give you another example. There was a shop owner in the early 2000s who made a good living selling CDs and DVDs. When music and movies began shifting to digital streams, he scoffed. People will always want the physical disc, he said. 5 years later, his store was empty. The tragic irony is that if he had simply learned about digital licensing or online curation, he could have built a new, thriving business from the ashes of the old one. That is the power of adaptability. It turns what looks like an ending into a new beginning. So, my friends, stop saying, I don't know how to do that. Start declaring, I will learn how to do that. In this age, the speed at which you can learn is a superpower that trumps almost all others. And do not be afraid to be a beginner again. Every single expert in the world was once an amateur who refused to stay the same. Adaptable people have a different reaction to change. They don't panic, they get curious. They look at a shifting landscape and ask, what new door is this opening for me? They know that even if the world transforms 100 times, they will not just survive, they will find a way to thrive. Not because they are the most brilliant, but because they are the most flexible. So remember this, in a world that reinvents itself overnight, the only sustainable advantage is the ability to reinvent yourself every single morning. Do not fight change, lead it. Because change is not your enemy, it is the invitation to become the person you are meant to be. Now, my friends, let's talk about a subject that is rarely taught in schools, but one that life will test you on every single day. Financial intelligence. This is the skill that separates a life of liberty from a life of labor. You see, a common path is to work for money from your first job until your last day. But there is another path, a smarter one, where you set things up so that your money begins working for you. This is the fundamental difference between being busy for 50 years and being truly free. It's ironic, isn't it? We spend our school years solving complex equations to find X, but we are never taught the most important equation of all, how to make your income greater than your expenses and then make the surplus grow. Here is the truth that escapes most people. Financial intelligence has very little to do with how much money you earn. It has everything to do with how much of it you retain and how strategically you put that retained money to work. I have seen individuals with high salaries who are perpetually in debt, and others with modest incomes who are quietly, steadily building real wealth. Why? Because one group spends their money on things that make them look prosperous, while the other invests in things that actually make them prosperous. Let me paint a picture for you. A young professional receives their first real paycheck. Their first thought is, I've made it. The next day, they go out and buy the latest smartphone, designer clothes, and treat all their friends to an expensive dinner. 2 weeks later, they are asking, can you spot me some cash until next month? This is the cycle so many get trapped in. They are not living paycheck to paycheck. They are living impulse to impulse. Financial intelligence is, at its heart, about being the commander of your money. It means you tell it where to go instead of wondering where it went. You must understand this fundamental principle. Money does not solve your problems. It magnifies them. If you have poor habits with a small amount of money, you will be disastrous with a large amount. Money is a magnifying glass. It makes your financial habits, both good and bad, more visible to the world. When I was younger, I thought being rich was defined by the ability to buy anything I wanted. Now I understand that true wealth is the freedom to not have to buy everything I see. Real riches are measured in options, peace of mind, and autonomy, not in the logos you wear. Let's simplify this. Financially intelligent people tend to operate by three key principles. First, they don't just work for a paycheck. They are constant students of wealth. They learn how money flows, how investments work, and how to make a budget a tool for freedom, not restriction. If you don't actively direct your money, it will always find a way to leave you. Second, they have a crystal clear understanding of the difference between a need and a want. You do not need a new luxury item every season. You do need a financial safety net that allows you to sleep soundly at night. The wealthy acquire assets, things that put money into their pocket. The struggling accumulate liabilities, things that take money out of their pocket. Do you know the real difference between a car and an investment property? One is a tool that depreciates as it takes you places. The other is an asset that appreciates as it builds your future. Third, they play the long game. The average person thinks in terms of days and weeks. The successful think in terms of years and decades. They understand that patience and compound growth are a more powerful force for building wealth than any short-term, exciting gamble. It's almost amusing. Everyone is in a frantic rush to get rich quickly. But if it were that easy, wouldn't everyone already be wealthy? You see people jumping from one trend to another, crypto one month, meme stocks the next, yet their net worth remains stagnant. Because lasting wealth is not built on the shifting sands of hype. It is built on the solid bedrock of consistency, discipline, and self-control. Never underestimate the power of a small, consistent habit. Setting aside just 10% of your income might seem insignificant now, but do that faithfully for 10 or 20 years, and you will build a monument to your younger self's discipline. And please remember this, the goal is not to accumulate millions for the sake of a number in an account. The goal is to reach a state of financial peace. It is the profound security of knowing that even if your paycheck stopped tomorrow, your life would not fall apart. One final piece of wisdom, do not measure your wealth or anyone else's by the possessions they display. True wealth is measured by what you don't see, the investments, the savings, the freedom to walk away from a bad situation. The loudest displays of luxury are often just a mask for the quietest whispers of debt. Financial intelligence is not cultivated in a bank vault. It is cultivated in the mind. It is the mindset of investing in yourself before you indulge, of learning before you spend, and of building a future you own, not one you are just renting from your employer. So, my friends, from this day forward, do not just chase a higher income, chase a higher understanding. Don't just save money, put it to work. And don't just aim to look successful, aim to be secure. Because the day you no longer work for your money, but your money works for you, is the day you have truly graduated into a life of freedom. My friends, we have walked through 5 powerful skills: communication, emotional control, decision-making, adaptability, and financial intelligence. But I must tell you a profound truth. All of these are nothing more than potential energy, like unlit fuel, if they are not ignited by the final and most critical skill of all, execution. A brilliant idea by itself is cheap. Everyone has them. But turning that idea into reality, that is expensive. It costs you comfort, time, and effort. That is why so few can afford true success. We have all heard people say, I have a dream. But a dream without a plan and without action is merely a pleasant story you tell yourself to make the present more bearable. The chasm that separates those who want a better life from those who live one is not hope. It is execution. I once met a bright young entrepreneur. He told me, sir, I have been planning my business launch for 3 years. The business plan is perfect. I asked him, when does the planning end and the doing begin? He said, soon. 3 years later, our paths crossed again. He was still in the planning phase, but now his excuses were more refined. This is the trap. People polish their plans to a high shine while their opportunity gathers dust. The world will never pay you for your intentions. The world pays for delivered value. It pays for products shipped, for services rendered, for problems solved. So, what is execution? It is starting before you feel completely ready. It is taking that first step even when your knees are trembling, and learning to walk while you are already on the journey. Examine any great success story. None of them began with perfect conditions. They began with a messy, uncertain, and often embarrassing first attempt. Steve Jobs built the first Apple computer in a cluttered garage. When we started Alibaba, we had no grand office or wealthy backers. All we had was a stubborn belief and the will to act. J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter not from a place of support, but from a place of rejection. She kept writing, she kept executing. That relentless doing is what transforms an ordinary person into a legend. Most people fail not from a lack of talent, but because they wait for a feeling called motivation. Listen to me, motivation is a fleeting visitor. It is like a morning coffee. It gives you a jolt, but it fades by midday. What you need is discipline. Discipline is the generator you build inside yourself that powers you through the dark, quiet, and difficult times. Execution is not about grand, heroic gestures once a year. It is about the small, consistent, unsexy actions you take every single day. Success is not a single, explosive event. It is the slow, steady accumulation of thousands of tiny steps that you refuse to skip. You want to write a book? Don't focus on the 300 pages. Focus on writing one page today. You want to get fit? Don't obsess over the six-pack. Do the first 5 push-ups this morning. You want to change your life. Make one powerful decision right now and act on it. And I beg you, erase the word someday from your vocabulary. Someday is a mirage. It is a date on a calendar that never arrives. Let me be very real with you. When you start taking tangible action, you will be met with laughter. You will face doubt. People will tell you that you are wasting your time. But remember this, people often laugh right before they begin to applaud. Your only job is to keep working so diligently that their laughter is forced to turn into respect. Execution also means finishing what you start. Many people are not lazy, they are serial starters. They love the excitement of a new beginning, but flee at the first sign of the hard work required in the middle. Their lives become a collection of half-finished projects, like a library of books with only the first chapter written. Let this sink in. Consistency will outperform intelligence every single time. If you commit to doing one small thing toward your goal every day, even imperfectly, you will become an unstoppable force within a year. So, my friends, do not wait for the perfect moment. Perfect moments are created by imperfect actions. Don't wait for confidence to magically appear. You build confidence by doing the thing you are afraid to do. Don't wait for luck. Make luck irrelevant through sheer, undeniable effort. The secret is simple, yet few apply it. While most people are talking about their plans, you will be quietly acting on yours. While they are doubting the possibility, you will be proving it. While they are sleeping, you will be building the foundation of your future. Execution does not guarantee you will never fail, but I can guarantee you this. Without execution, success is an impossibility. So, when our conversation ends today, do not just nod and think, that was a nice talk. Turn this insight into immediate action. Ask yourself, what is the one single thing I can do in the next hour to start? Then, go and do it. That one small decisive act will set a new trajectory for your life. Because in the final analysis, success does not find the smartest, the richest, or the most gifted. It finds the one who simply, persistently, and courageously executes.